In the Game Guru, today, Fossilis. Let's dig into the components and do a quick how to play on this game. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing or following. Absolutely, really cool looking game. Look at the components. The components are fantastic. It actually has tweezers in there. It's been so long since I've actually played a game that had tweezers. I think since I was young and playing the game of Operation. Very unique game where you're paleontologists and you're digging up dinosaur bones. The person with the most victory points wins the game. All right, let's dig into some of the components here and do a how-to on Fossilis. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the awesome dig site. And this dig site actually has tiles on the very top that eventually you'll end up uncovering these tiles to reveal holes where the bones can be that you can actually dig out. And a lot of the tiles, they look they feel nice. They're not that heavy. They're kind of a lighter plastic, but the paint job on here, decal on here is pretty good to the point where I don't feel like these will rub off very easily. You have the main board in here, which tracks your victory points. It goes up to 50 points. I do feel like in this game, you can go beyond 50 because there's a lot of scoring in this game based on the different things that you get. Here you have skills that you can actually acquire, and that's if you end up digging out a hammer from the dig site, you can actually get a skill that you can add to your player boards. Up here we have the dinosaurs. This is where you can actually put dinosaurs in your lab. You can grab a dinosaur. Once you have a bone, once you have at least one bone, you can take a dinosaur from up here, stick it in your lab, and try to complete it. Let's go over the dinosaur draw pile really fast. So I'll show you a bunch of the dinosaurs. We'll go ahead and flip through them. The artwork is not really fantastic. I feel like it's kind of subpar for these dinosaurs, but it does the job. I mean, I like the fact that they're colorful cards. They're easy to read. But as far as the actual artwork, I feel like they could have been better. A bunch of dinosaurs. There you go from the draw pile. And let's take a look at the anatomy of the cards here. So up here on the top left, you have the category that the actual dinosaur is associated to. This game does have a lot of scoring at the end that involve categories. If you have 3 or more of a set, or if you have the most of one, or if you have a dinosaur, at least in every single one of the 9 categories, you can get additional victory points. Down here are the bones you need to complete it. If you do a full complete of a dinosaur, you'll get those points right here, the victory points right here. If you do partial to move the dinosaur out of your lab, then you'll only get victory points that are based down here at the very bottom of the card. So you flip over 4 available. Then over here you have tools and supplies. Tools are very straightforward. Well, they're like tools, right? You get like different tools that help you perform certain actions. Then you have a heavy brush, pickaxe, hot coffee, heavy shovel, lantern, shovel, clay bucket, hot coffee, brush, chisels, dig site map, etc. And these will actually give you victory points too. I mean, when I say there's a lot of scoring in this game, I mean there's a lot of scoring. I mean, everything. It feels like everything gives you victory points in this game. Down over here, you have supplies. The supplies are basically things that aid you in, like getting additional bones or getting additional plaster or victory points or whatever. Each card has a cost, just like the tools. The tools had a cost down at the bottom. The supplies have the same thing. Whenever you get a tile from the dig site, you can use the currency on there in order to buy the cards. So these ones will give you victory points. This will give you a bone. This will give you 3 additional plaster, a bone, bones, victory points, etc. Very simple cards. They're basically supplies, right? So when you buy a card from the market, you have your choice of buying from tools or from supplies. You always have at least 2 cards face up from both piles. Down here we have a kind of a reference card that shows you what kind of actions you have. So what you can do in this game, you can do 4 actions. You have 4 action points to spend. So you can spend action points to gain plaster, action points to move your meeple, or put your meeple back on the board, or put another sand tile back on the board. You can move a sand block. You can move a clay block or move a stone block. If you move a stone, it costs you 3. If you slide a clay, 2, and sand is 1. And then also 1 action point if you decide to use tweezers with plaster to dig out the bones. And like I said before, this is one of the... it's been a long time since I've seen a game with tweezers, all the way back in operation when I was young. And then here we go to the player mat. The player mat will basically has a quick reference, tells you what you can do during your turn. Up here is where you can put additional skills. If you put a skill in the very first block, there's no penalty. But as you gain more skills, if you choose to decide to get more skills, then you will be sacrificing victory points. So if you don't end up putting any additional skills here, you can get 6 additional victory points at the end of the game. But if you put 1 here, you lose 2. And if you put 1 here, you lose 4. So you really have to decide whether or not those skills are going to be beneficial to make up for the lack of victory points that you're going to have at the end of the game. Right here, this tells you how much plaster it costs to dig out the bones from the dig site. Over here, it shows you if you have three or more dinosaurs in a particular category, how much extra victory points you get. The most per category, you get 3 additional victory points, and then if you have dinosaurs in all 9 categories, you get 12 additional. These are all end of game scoring right here, down here. Well, most of the scoring in this game for victory points is end of game. The only one that seems to be very more immediate is when you have a dinosaur in your lab and you complete it and you move it out. Those are the ones that seem to be more immediate as far as affecting you immediately on the victory point tracker. This is the first person token. So let's go ahead and dig in. So we're going to have this person go first, purple, just purple and yellow. Purple is going to go ahead and spend 1 action point to go over here. Whenever you can move diagonally, vertically, or horizontally. It doesn't matter. You can move up to 2 spaces every time you use the 1 action point to move. All right, so then I'm going to spend another 2 action points to move this clay block. That slides right off. And then that's going to give me 2 gold nuggets that I can spend on cards. There are 3 bones in here. So this one is actually, so purple has struck pretty well here on the first dig. So what they're going to do with their last action point is they're just going to go ahead and grab a plaster. Now, I can go ahead and reserve a dinosaur if I want to, but in order to reserve a dinosaur, you have to have at least 1 of the bones. But I do have some currency now with this tile. So I have this currency. I can go ahead and spend this currency if I want. And I'm going to spend it on this supply card. And the reason why I'm going to spend on this supply card is because it gives me a tooth, then 2 plaster cards whenever I need to when I'm going for the dinosaurs. Comes in pretty handy. So I'm going to spend this 2. And then now I'll go ahead and flip up another supply card. All right. So player 2 is going to go. They're going to go over here. And then they're going to go ahead and push this off. And what do we have in here? Nothing. So they are very unlucky. But they do have 1 sand tile that's worth 1 gold nugget that they can spend. Then what they're going to do is they're probably going to go over here. So they moved 1. They spent 1, right? So we have 2 more action points left. They're going to go ahead and slide this clay block off. And then that gives them 2 additional. Now, if you notice here, this is being the plaster pool, and then this is being the plaster supply. So anytime you take plaster, you have to go to the plaster pool first before you go to the supply. Now, there are event cards underneath here that will actually trigger at the end of a player's turn once the last plaster is taken from there. This is actually how you keep track of the rounds as well, because when all the plaster is gone from this plaster pool and then the event card comes out and gets used, that is the end of that round. And then you'll fill up the plaster pool again, which is 4 plaster per player. And then you'll empty that, and then you go to the next event card, and then you'll repeat until all of the event cards are gone. This here are the skills right here. So these are the skills that you can get if you get a hammer out of the dig site. Then you can actually pick one of these skills to put on your player board. Okay, so I think that was it, right? Because we spent 2 and 2. Okay, yep. Okay, so that player can't pull a dinosaur into their lab because they obviously do not have a bone. So I'm going to go over here, and what am I going to do here? I think what this player is going to do is they're going to go ahead and spend their supply card, right, to get a bone and 2 plaster. So we'll move 2 plaster from the supply. right here. And then I'm going to put this right under here. The reason why I'm going to put it under here is because that tells me I have a bone or a tooth to spend on a dinosaur. Okay? That way I'm not double dipping on this card, because sometimes you can forget you use this card, and unfortunately if I remove this card from the game, I will forget that I have a tooth. So I'm just sliding it under here as a reminder that, hey, I have a tooth, and then whatever else I get. Okay, so what are we going to do? So I think I'm also going to spend 2 action points to get 2 more plaster. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend my last action point, and I'm going to go ahead and dig out a bone. But when I dig out the bone, I have to spend the plaster required to get the bone. So I'm going to go ahead and spend my 3, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and dig out this like femur bone. And I'm going to go ahead and put it right down here. So this player here now has a tooth and the femur. And now that I went ahead and used all my action points, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the Triceratops. Right here, it's worth 20 points. If I fully complete it, I need a tooth and 2 of those bones. So I'm going to spend the tooth. So now I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this over here so that I know that I spent the tooth on it. So, well, maybe I'll just put it on the side. So I know I spent the tooth on that Triceratops. If you want, you don't have to have a card like that if you have extra bones lying around in a discard pile somewhere. If you do, then you can actually just you can exchange this card for one of the bones that are available, but there are none because all the bones are still in the dig site. And then I'm going to put this particular bone right there. So now I am almost there at completing this particular dinosaur. All I need is 1 more of these type of bones here. It looks like a femur, but okay. So player 2 is going to go. They're going to go ahead and spend their 3 to pull out this stone, because it costs 3 to move a stone block. They get this for currency, so now they have an egg. Wow, they have 4 gold nuggets, a foot, and an egg. So they have a lot of money. Now I only have 1 action point left, but they have no plaster. And is there anything in here? Oh, there's a tool. Yay, there's a little hammer thing. So these hammers are the one things that cost 0 to pull out of the dig site. They're the only thing that costs 0 to pull out of the dig site. So player 2 is going to go ahead and pull out this hammer, put it here. Now we're going to go ahead and use this hammer to get a skill, okay? So throw that out of the game. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one where it says at game end, you get 5 victory points, okay? So we'll stick that skill right there on the top. Now, if I end up, like I said earlier, if I end up putting more additional skills over here in these next 2 spots, I'll end up sacrificing victory points, and I don't want to do that. I still cannot reserve a dinosaur over here, because there are no bones for this player over here. Okay, so this first player is going to go now. Let's go over here. Let's go ahead and dig this one out. So we're going to spend 1 action point to move that sand tile out. And now we have this as a currency. Is there anything in here? Oh yeah, there's this other bone, whatever this bone is. I'm not sure what this bone is. Okay, so that's the only thing that's in there though. Do I want to dig? Oh, you know what? I gotta flip another dinosaur up. Ooh, pterodactyl. Wow, pterodactyl, and that one uses 2 ribs and a tooth to complete. It's worth 22 if you do a full completion. Now you don't want to focus on doing a complete completion of the dinosaurs because of the category and the set bonuses you get at the very end of the game. If you focus on doing complete, you may end up having other people that do partial completes and win the game because they'll get set bonuses. So whenever you focus on a dinosaur, don't focus on them too long. If you can't find the missing piece you need, just do a partial complete, count your victory points, and then move on and then go get another dinosaur. So this person has, 3 more? Let's go ahead and push this. I'm going to show you how the tiles move because you can actually push tiles. So I'm going to push that one up, 2, and I'm going to move here for 3 because you need to be next to tiles before you can move them. And then I'm going to spend my 4th one to move this tile. And what happens is you can actually move tiles that are the same weight. So sand tiles can move other sand tiles and knock them off, and then whenever they fall off, you get them. But sand cannot knock over clay or slide clay or stone. Clay can move clay and sand, but clay cannot move stone. And stone could obviously push any other type of block off the board. So this player over here is going to, so they spent all theirs. They have no additional bones. They can't do anything. This player over here is going to go now. I think they're going to move one over here, and then they're going to push this one off. So then they get another gold nugget. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Oh, looks like there's bone right here. And then what they're going to do is they're going to spend the last of their 3 to get 3 plaster of their 3 actions. So now they have three plasters. Let's see if we want to buy something. I think this player over here is probably going to buy something. They're probably going to spend this right here, their stone block, with that 3 different currencies. We're going to move that out of there, and they're going to end up buying this. So now player 2 has this as a bone. Okay, so once they use it, ooh, there you go. That's worth 6 victory points. All right, so actually I made a mistake there earlier. I said that this person had 3. They had 3 actions left. They actually had 2 because they had to move and they had to spend 1 to dig that block off. So I'm gonna pull one of these back because it was not correct. Actually, I'm gonna put it right here because I think I pulled it out of the plaster pool. All right, so player 1 over here is gonna go ahead. Now, what are they gonna do? So do we want to go ahead and try to complete this? What do we got here? We got that special bone. We have this here. We have a rib. This person needs one of these. So they're going to spend 3 to push off a stone tile to get this currency. And then let's see. Is there another one with a special bone that they need? Is there a femur one? Oh, yeah. Perfect. This one is a femur one. Okay. So but they spent 3. Now they can spend their 1 to dig out if they have enough plaster. They don't have enough plaster though. So they're going to go ahead and spend their last action point to get 1 more plaster because they need to get the 3 required plaster to pull out that bone. Let's go over here to player 2. What's player 2 going to do? Do we have anything yummy in here? We have this, but they already have that as a bone. So maybe what they'll do is they'll move 1 over here, and then they'll spend 2 to push this off. So they'll get this as a currency. And then we'll put that over here. Now let's see. What kind of bones do we have here? Ooh, good. So we have that and a tooth. Perfect. Okay, so they spent 2 to move that. So we only have 1. So let's go ahead and just grab the 1 plaster. So now, because it cost them 1 to move, 2 to knock it off, and 1 extra plaster to come here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I still can't reserve. I can reserve one of these other ones. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend this card here, right here, to complete a dinosaur from the top rack. So player 2 is going to go ahead and use this. And they're going to complete this dinosaur because all it costs is that 1 bone. So I didn't have to actually stick it in my lab. Remember, like I said earlier, you can actually complete a dinosaur in the display if you have all of the bones already. There you go. So this person went ahead and completed that. So now they move up 7 victory points on the tracker. So yellow moves up right there. We'll go ahead and flip another dinosaur. Now this person's going to go. They have 3. So they're going to go ahead and... I think they moved... It's in here, right? Yep, it was in here. So they're going to go ahead and spend their 1 action point and spend 3 of their plaster to then dig out the femur bone. That 1 little femur bone, if I can find it. There you go. So I'm going to put that over here. That'll allow us to complete this dinosaur. And you can complete the dinosaurs anytime on your turn. So now we have tooth and then these 2 bones. So these 2 bones I'm going to put on the discard pile up here. There you go. And this tooth is gone now. This dinosaur gets completed. So I'm going to put them aside. Whenever the dinosaurs get completed, I'm going to put them aside. I know you can't see them on the screen, but I'll put them aside because you need to count up the dinosaurs at the end of the game as far as the categories for end of scoring. So this will give me 20 victory points immediately. So player 1 goes all the way up to 20. And like I really feel like this game, you can actually go beyond the 50 really, really easily. So, maybe there's some games that you can't, and then I feel like there are some games that you can. Now, let's see if we can go ahead and trigger the events on here. So what's going to go happen? So what do we do? So we spent one. Let's spend another one to get this plaster here. I'm going to stay there, I think. I'll spend 2 more points to get 2 more additional plasters. That's 3 plaster. If there's no plaster in the plaster pool, then you end up pulling from the supply. Now, this person's turn is over. I don't have any bones to actually put another dinosaur in my lab. So, since my turn is over and the plaster pool is gone, this event card comes out. It says Sandstorm. Start to the right of the active player in reverse order. Players place any 1 sand tile back on the dig site until 4 have been placed. If sand runs out, stop placing. So if sand runs out, so I believe these actually get pulled from the discard pile, if I'm not mistaken. So we can go ahead. So we're going to go ahead and place 4. These players are going to place 4 wherever they want. And we'll just say that they did that. We ran out of sand, and it says if sand runs out, stop placing. So we're only able to place 3 on there. Okay, so that is done, and now we have 2 more event cards. So that was the end of the very, very, very first round. And then what you do is you fill up the plaster pool again. It's 4 plaster per player. Now, once this plaster is gone, you're going to trigger the next event, and then that will be the end of that round. Okay, so that player is done. I don't think they're going to spend their extra because I know that, well, actually, they finished off their turn by grabbing 3 plaster plus, and that was it. They didn't want to do anything else. So now player 2 is going to go, and then they're going to continue. They're going to move somewhere. They're going to try to move a tile out, and then they're going to dig. And that's how the game is played. You can buy your market supplies right here, your tools or supply cards. You can put your dinosaurs into your lab, try to complete them as you pull out the dinosaur bones, and then just move your victory points as you do a full or partial complete of a dinosaur. Then at the very end, you're going to do the scoring for 3 or more in a category, or most in category, or if somebody has a dinosaur in all 9 categories. Again, you want to shoot for partial more than complete. If you take too long on a dinosaur, you're going to end up probably losing. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I think it's so unique. It is probably one of the most unique games I've seen, with this whole dig site and digging bones out, and I just love it. I mean, I wish the artwork was a little better. I think the artwork is a little lousy on the lousy side. As far as the actual mechanics and as far as like the creativity in this game, it is really, really, really cool. Absolutely enjoy this game. But yeah, so this is Fossilis. Let me go ahead and show you guys the manual too. The manual is really well done, and it shows you all your components. It shows you the complicated setup that you need to go through with setting up the dig site. Well, it's not that complicated, but it takes a little bit of time. It's not something you can set up quickly. It probably takes about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so to set it up. Then it goes through each of the gameplay actions. I like how sturdy the manual feels. It feels very, very solid. Yeah. And then it goes through this ginormous final scoring right here, where you count all these different additional points. Because it's not just the categories, it's not just the supply cards and stuff that can give you bonuses, but just everything. Like every little thing you can think of, it will give you bonuses. Even on your player map, when you don't put additional skills in, you get additional bonuses. Or when you have the heads, because the heads are the head bones, the skulls, are the one thing that are not on dinosaurs. So if you see on the dinosaurs, they'll have a lot of these bones down here. The skull is not on here because the skull, which is right here, is in the dig site just for victory point purposes, because they give you 12 victory points per skull, and there's only 3 of them in the game buried in there somewhere. But yeah, this is super, super cool. It's Fossilis, and I hope this showed you how the game is kind of played. I mean, I know I only did 1 round, but you kind of repeat the process as you go through everything that I've done on the first round. But that's it, guys. I am Jim, the Game Guru, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.